I have shocking news for you. The ABC, which campaigns so hard on race issues, see racists everywhere, is itself racist. Our national broadcaster is shockingly racist, if their own journalists and presenters are to be believed. I've never heard so many staff complaints at other organisations. Or is the ABC being gamed? This is a case of the revolution eating its own. Now, it is now being sued by Antoinette Lattouf. She's a Lebanese Australian, hyphenated, who was dumped as a fill-in radio host over Christmas for being actually an anti-Israel activist. Although she blames racism for the decision, saying it is disheartening to not only witness the horrendous treatment of people of colour by the ABC over the years, but to now personally and so publicly feel its wrath. Now, she's not the only one complaining, you see. In fact, there have been so many complaints from staff about ABC racism, the ABC in 2022 publicly apologised for all this racism in its newsrooms. It's been accused of racism by ABC presenter Dan Bouchier, for instance. He identifies as Aboriginal. Presenter Stan Grant, he quit after accusing the ABC of institutional failure by not correcting the lies written about him by racists. Asian Australian reporter Jason Om, he said he'd been disappointed for years by the ABC's treatment. And the Sydney Morning Herald reported an Aboriginal staffer complaining for many Indigenous journalists that racism, bias and prejudice we've faced inside the ABC has been far more damaging than any abuse we've received online. Wow. Joining me is the panel, James McPherson and Liz Storer, both of the Late Debate here on Sky News at 10 p.m. You must watch it. James, now even the ABC, the national broadcaster, is it rotten with racism? Is that a sort of metaphor for the whole country? Has even apologised for it? Or is there something else going on?
Maybe they are racist, Andrew. I'm trying to think, when was the last time the ABC sacked a white heterosexual male with conservative leanings? They've never done that. Then again, they've never hired a white heterosexual male with conservative leanings. This situation is entirely predictable. The ABC have sown the wind, now they're reaping the whirlwind. They collected a group of people as much for their diversity as for their ability. So they've got a group of staff who see themselves at the top of the social justice pyramid, and you can't correct such people, you can't discipline such people because they see all of life through the prism of victimhood and entitlement. And so the moment you try to correct them, well, it's not their behaviour that's the problem. No, there must be something bigoted about you. And so when you employ people for their anti-racism, because they're anti-racists, it's all well and good until there's a disagreement, and next thing you know, they're accusing you of being racist.
But I think there's something else going on here on top of that. I should say the ABC is yet to file a response to these claims, but I've got some sympathy with other claims that have said the ABC is racist because I feel like I'm the token ethnic or whatever that they've picked, you know. And I wonder whether, in fact, it is racist in that way.
Yes, indeed. I mean, I can't even imagine the shock. I would have loved to be a fly on the wall when the ABC realised they actually had someone who was pro-Israel on their payroll. They couldn't fire this woman quick enough. But I do find this so hard to believe, Andrew, given it was just 6 months ago that the taxpayer forked out for the ABC's 30-page diversity, inclusion and belonging report. This was this massive plan to be rolled out over 3 years, complete with cultural guidance advisors yet to be appointed. Again, heaven knows how much that will set back the taxpayer. But the good news is Aussies do seem to be wisening up to the state propaganda arm that the ABC is. When you look at their radio share just over the last 3 years, in Melbourne, it's plummeted by 40%. Melbourne, you would think that's the epicenter of leftyism in the country, and plummeted by 30%, 35%, I should say, in Sydney. Those are Australia's two most major cities. What does that tell you? People are voting with their feet. They've had enough of this rubbish.
So right, you know. I think that is. But, you know, I wonder, James, whether this is in fact a case of the revolution eating its own. Yeah, a lot of us have been so falsely accused. You know, we're on the right, so by By definition, we're supposedly racist, and we've been falsely accused of racism for so many years, we no longer pay any attention because we know it's rubbish. And so now the only people that you can galvanise and shock by calling them racist are people on the left, like the ABC, and it's now turned into a weapon to beat it round the head. I think it's very funny.
Yeah, the revolution always eats its own. The woke snake always ends up devouring its own tail, and that's exactly what we're seeing at the ABC. It's hilarious to watch. The only problem is we're paying for it.